Hey, good morning. Beginning of another week. What's up, Peter? How are you doing?
Doing all right, man. New month in a way, so kind of looking forward to what this month brings. Really, change hopefully.
Well, we technically brought in the new month last Friday itself. But yeah,
Yeah,
I get your drift. This feels like a Monday, as always, feels like a beginning of sorts.
true that.
Yeah, and this time we're getting something to really wake everyone up because we're talking about grindcore band, not only from Saudi Arabia, but a grindcore band that released a fantastic album called Condemned. This is Creative Waste. That's the band's name. And that album, Condemned, 10 songs that work like quadruple shots of espresso coffee. One of the best grindcore releases from this year so far, at least for me.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was quite excited to hear the album release, and I guess this whole quarantine and COVID-19 had some impact on it because I've known the guys from Creative Waste for quite some time now, close to a decade, and they've been working on this album for at least a couple of years. And every time I'd speak to the frontman Fawaz, he'd keep telling me short updates. Yeah, we're working on this, we're doing that. So when he said that, you know what, we're dropping the album, I was like, wow. He's like, yeah, I'm done with sitting on it for so long. So yeah, I'm glad it's finally out there. And more than that, on the 1st of May, Samstrong Records from Indonesia released the album on CD. So yeah, for those of you who actually still buy CDs, yeah, this album is out on CD also.
It's fantastic. And we caught up with Fawaz, and really, this interview is the story of people who absolutely love the music and also the idea of making music together as a band. And it's also a story that interweaves so many different things. There's identity, there's protest, there's just growing up together and just making music as an artist too. So many different angles. So let's get on to that interview. Here's Fawaz from Creative Waste.
Hi, Fawaz. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. Besides sleeping, it's all good.
One of the things I've been saying recently is that, one of the positives about this entire situation that we're all faced in is that, what, there's a new Creative Waste album to listen to. So, before we get into your new album, Condemned, uh, let's just go back many years. How did you get into metal? Like, were you in Saudi, and how did you like get access to metal back then?
It wasn't metal immediately. I got exposed to, I would say, fast and aggressive music. And at the beginning, it's like I've been exposed to metal, but I didn't know what I'm listening to. This was, I don't know, maybe 90. I can't remember. Like maybe around the same time with the PlayStation 1 or something. It's like
Okay.
94, 95, something like that, 96. Anyway, I remember the movie Mortal Kombat. Also, there was that Street Fighter animation,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like either those uh, fast electronic songs or some rock or metal. Because I remember, like at the end of Street Fighter, I didn't know at the time, but it was "Blind" by Korn at the very end
Yeah.
of Street Fighter 2, and Alice in Chains was in the beginning with the Ken scene. So yeah, that's I was just being exposed to it. I didn't know what I was listening to. I just knew that I liked it. I think it was my beginning was through movie soundtracks actually. Then like came what The Matrix. What was it? Spawn soundtrack.
Yeah, I think all those soundtracks had a lot of like new metal and stuff like that back then.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was like the beginning of it. And then 98, 97, 90,
Mm-hmm.
like 98, 97, I can't remember exactly. There was a summer we were going to the US. And right before I went, we had this orbit satellite or whatever, and there was this channel V. It was totally random, but they just came out of nowhere with this program, this music program that I think was like the equivalent of Headbangers Ball or something. I didn't know what I was looking at, but all of a sudden I saw Sepultura. I saw it was Territory at the time. I didn't know what I was looking at, but now I remember, like, because of the scenes. And there was also, I think, Limp Bizkit, the Nuki was just coming out. Anyway, they were like showing these tracks, like video interviews and stuff. Like, what is this? It's unlike anything I've heard. You know, it makes sense to me, like, as in because of the aggression, whatever. Like, I connect with that. So the same summer, we end up going to the U.S., which was, I believe, summer of '98 or '99. Yeah, '99, I think, summer of '99, and yeah, you could not escape it. It was everywhere, in the radio, on TV. You had all these bands. Well, most of them, the new metal bands at the time, was what? Deftones, Korn, yeah, even Slipknot, and there was like this presence of music that we don't normally get to listen to. And me and my brother immediately liked it. That was like the beginning, the gateway, let's say. So so there we met our future guitarist Essam in the U.S. Like after summer, when school started, I ended up meeting Essam in my social studies class. That's pretty much it. Like, I think as soon as we discovered this type of music, we kind of almost already immediately wanted to start a band. That's I never thought about that, actually. It just came to me right now. But yeah, it's like here I am just discovering it like a month or like a few months, and then immediately I wanted to start a band. We don't even know where to start, you know.
I read somewhere that Creative Waste, or rather the band, was formed even before you guys had instruments to play or something of that sort.
Yeah,
How did
yeah,
it
that's
happen?
exactly. Like I said, we were like in class. I was like, man, you like, you started listing bands. You like Korn? You like this? You like that? I'm like, yeah, man. It's like, yeah, man, they're the best, whatever. And then like, yeah, we should hang out. And like immediately, I can't remember, like a week or. I didn't know him for too long, but it's like, man, let's start a band. Like, okay, yeah, let's start a band. And then we just like browse online. I'm gonna buy this. You buy that, whatever. It's like window shopping from websites. Like, remember, it was like Musician's Friend, I think. I can't remember the websites at the time. And yeah, we started the band. It was like a make believe band at the time. You know, we didn't really end up buying instruments until what, a year or two after that. We the summer of 2000, we came back to Saudi. He stayed one more year, and the summer of 2001, I got a call from him. He showed up at my place. It was during summer, and he had his guitar. He was left-handed, so his guitar was upside down, and he was like, he had all his strings missing, I think. You know, he had like two or three strings. I don't know. And we were like, oh damn, whatever. He's like, plays songs on one string, and we're like losing our shit. Very primitive, to say at least. And yeah, we just picked it up from there. I bought a guitar because the bass was too expensive, so I didn't really stick to the plan. But our brother, my youngest brother, was always the drummer. That plan has never changed from the beginning. When we finally discovered how to tune, got tips from watching other musicians play, and like realizing what the hell we're doing. And then we just finally met other musicians here, and that's sped up the process. Getting exposed to more styles, getting recommended more bands, and so on, until we reached the style that we play now, which was I would say like 2004, I believe, or late Actually, I would say 2005 with the recording of our first demo. That's when we finally decided on what we wanted to play.
So, you talked about meeting other musicians, and I clearly remember after discovering Creative Waste, the website sametal.com, and I think this was around the mid 2000s.
Yeah, it
Um,
was dot everything. I think we
yeah,
got dot
and I was,
org, dot net until we finally got dot com. Yeah.
but one of the first things I was so surprised that there were metal bands in Saudi Arabia. From the top of my head, I remember Deathless Anguish, Wasted Land, Grieving Age, and of course your band, Creative Waste.
Yeah, I mean, at the very beginning, we didn't know anyone. We thought we were the only ones. Like before we knew about the forum, and we used to have like Microsoft chat, and I met a guy named Walid. On He was from the same city as me, Latif, and he was a guy who actually started recommending me new music, who started giving me tips. He taught me how to read guitar tabs, and I took it from there. And he ended up getting exposed to, because we have an instrument shop called the Dawadia in Khobar. And somehow, like, it's because not many people, like, if you go there, you end up crossing paths with people with that also are buying instruments, and you end up meeting other musicians that are involved. So I think he got exposed to the future members of Sound of Ruby. Nader was there.
Okay.
And I really forget how, but he ended up also getting to know Hajjaj from Sound of Ruby. Yeah, slowly we got introduced, and then it was just Creative Waste and Sound of Ruby. Then slowly he introduced us to, there's a band called Rai Reed, and Kamal was the guitarist for that band, which is the founding member of Deathless Anguish. Those were the starting bands. Then like shortly after, I started discovering the forum, and then I finally went to Kamal's house and met all of the guys. We were still like didn't know each other that well, but that was the beginning. And then we became a community afterwards. And slowly we started discovering bands from Riyadh. Once we formed the community, we started going to Bahrain together to see like local shows there. We got to know organizers, and we decided to play a show in Bahrain, FVF3. That was our first show, and like all three of us played there, like Creative Waste, Sound of Ruby, and Deathless Anguish. And my brother was the drummer for Deathless Anguish because he was the only known extreme drummer at the time. And we were like, everyone's helping everyone else's band. And so yeah, after that we decided to start our own shows, and because we saw how it's done and got ideas, and we made our first show in 2005, Say Metal, and that helped get exposed to other bands in Saudi. Two more bands from Riyadh, Crimson and Dune at the time. And then we went so well, we decided to make another one, Say Metal 2. And that's when we discovered there were bands from Jeddah, Wasted Land, and so on. And yeah, we just took it from there.
And through that journey, so many years later, finally, we are here in 2020. And let's shift gears towards your recent release, which is Condemned. I must say,
Yeah.
I thought it was such a solid. It's so heavy. It's it's a very excellent release. Full props
Thank
to you
you.
guys for that. And
Thank you.
I'd like to first talk about what these songs are saying. If you were to ask me to paraphrase the lyrics as such, I guess the two words that I would use to sum it all up would be identity and protest. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at it from that, like, as in, I'm looking at it from basically from the main title, which is you're being condemned to a life, and yes, you are protesting, and I guess I never thought of the identity thing though, because it was from slaves to conformity. That was something that always stuck with us, and I think you are actually touching upon it. I just didn't think about it from that perspective.
Let
Yeah,
me put it
I
this
don't
way.
know.
Do you think what you're saying on the album, through your songs and through all the lyrics, could it have been said by anybody else?
Not necessarily. I don't think so.
Why do you say that?
Because there's not a lot of people that I know that come from the same place as I've come or has gone through. There's definitely people who can relate.
Hmm.
It's just that a lot of people might not necessarily understand what I'm trying to say. But hey, there's definitely elements anyone can relate to. But I'm talking about as in like on we come from Qatif, and that's like an area in Saudi that's usually known to be let's say that's treated differently
Hmm.
compared to other parts. I'd say I had a different experience growing up in Saudi compared to other Saudis in certain regards. So like the identity part does play in because Saudi is primarily Sunni and Shia, and like
Hmm.
Shia are seen as the minority, and they live in the like areas like Qatif and so on. So you
Hmm.
have that, and when you go outside, let's say in the global, let's say geopolitical, if you go to the U.S., whatever, it turns like race suddenly matters to certain people, obviously. Um, you're what's it called? Whatever, how you're perceived. If you're from the Middle East, immediately people I've noticed they immediately assume you're a Muslim, no matter what. Because we
Hmm.
have people from other faiths, and I mean they don't say that, but we have atheists, we have agnostics, we have a lot of different, but they don't stop to think about that. They immediately assume you're a Muslim, you're from that part, and so you get treated a certain way, And with recent events, TV, whatever, kind of go with the whole scapegoating and fear mongering, and so yeah, that's like a part of like venting about like how I see it, the stupidity of it, and only works when you don't think it through. It only works when you're fed half a truth, and half the truth is pretty much as misleading as any lie there is.
Is there a
Yeah.
statement this album makes? What is it and why does it need to be made?
I don't think it needs to be made. It's just that's what goes hand in hand with my music, basically. It's just so like I think of it as almost like these words are first and foremost for me. Um, I'm not
Okay.
really writing it for anyone because let's be honest, man. Majority of people who listen to metal or any people who listen to extreme metal don't
Hmm.
even take a second to look at lyrics. It's all about music. I honestly hear some people even complaining about bands making lyric videos. Like they are so annoyed. They're so annoyed that there are even lyrics. That's what it seems like. I'm like, we've come to that part. Like, as in, man, then what problem do you have with mumble rappers, man? Then you know. What's the difference? So yeah, some people they care about well, what they really saying, honestly, a lot of them are saying they just don't want to think about it because they like become. I feel like they it makes music serious and they just want it to be fun, mindless
Hmm.
for a lot of people. And I can't hate on them for that, but I'm just saying, like You don't want the lyrics, man. Just listen to the version without the lyrics. And just don't look at the screen. I don't know. I honestly don't feel like that culture exists. To be honest,
Uh-huh.
the extreme metal community, I don't think it. That's more of a punk thing, where the lyrics are more important than the musicality. In the metal community, it seems all about the virtuosity and like the instrumental aspect. Lyrics
Okay.
like take the back seat. Like I feel like very few people care about that.
Which is weird because I think that your songwriting process would be to first think of the lyrics and then bringing in the riffs of the music. Lyrics do matter to you,
Oh,
essentially.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. They matter to me. But if they didn't, I wouldn't spend time writing them. But I'm just saying the how that's the general consensus
Mm.
I'm getting all over the years and with friends, and this is the atmosphere I'm getting. Like I feel like they all like write lyrics because they're supposed to.
Mm.
That's how it feels. And I'm the one who can't do that. I really can't. Uh, like writing lyrics actually is the hardest process, but it's again, music is a form of expression. So if you're not expressing yourself, like you can express yourself through just sounds, through just playing guitar, through just screaming incoherently, or you can also add another dimension to it, which is when you write your lyrics and you combine the two. It makes the experience much more powerful in my personal opinion, and because you're communicating something that is it's even more highlighted.
How do you then end up writing the songs? Do you first bang out what you want to say as such, the lyrics as such, or is it first the riffs that get made and then the lyrics are written?
Most of the time, yes, I would have a general idea, like on what I want to talk about, just general guidelines, nothing specific.
Hmm.
And then I'd have to wait until the instrumentals are done, because I find them to fit better when I'm writing with those in mind, because I'll have to make a lot of adjustments if I just write them and try to find a song where it fits, because of the syllables. The rhythm will be
Of
forced.
course, of
So,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what I do is I just basically finish the instrumentals and then I write the lyrics. Actually, like more than half of the lyrics were written before the album was after all the instrumentals were done. And honestly, like the more I write, the clearer the picture gets to me. Like what I'm really trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's actually unintended. I just realize that I'm talking about the same thing, it's just in different I'm just focusing on different aspects of the same thing.
So, you talked about your whole approach. Condemned was recorded between late December 2015 and mid 2019. That's more
Yep.
than 3 years. How was that time spent, and why did it take so long?
Opening up a can of worms right now. Okay. uh I think because we were going through like band member changes, studio problems. uh we didn't have a place to record it. I can't remember exactly. Like so many things happened. Gathering the money to get it recorded. So it's not really one thing. It just kept getting sidetracked, man. It's weird. Like now it sounds simple, but at time it seemed like there's always something. Like I had to wait for this person or that person, or I mean, to be fair, like also our previous record had that same problem because our guitarist was living in Riyadh. And I think when I started waiting for people, that's when it took longer and longer. So what I ended up doing is I'm just gonna do the tasks that I can do. So I basically let's say all the songs were written and recorded as a scratch.
So I said, just going back to what you said. So you were done with the instrumentals in 2014. So when did you kind of know when the song was done as such?
Yeah, I mean the songs were done, but they weren't recorded properly. So that
Okay.
was like that's it's like the pre-album phase. Like we weren't gonna release those. Those were just for us
Okay.
to iron out the ring. You know, like whatever needs to be tightened or whatever. We usually we started doing that because I need to hear them out more and more to see if there's any room for improvement or so on. So it's like a process that we started doing.
So we've talked so much about Condemned. Let's play a track from Condemned. Which one should we play and why?
Probably obedience, I'd
Okay.
say, because I think it pretty much has like most elements and that give you a better idea of the whole. I don't know. It shows you more aspects. We typically, like every song in the record, I try to almost not do the exact same thing from track to track. Like if you notice, we do that with all our records because I like so many styles. I will have a fast song. I will have a slower song. I will have a song that's mixed. I will like. It's kind of like that. Like so because I try to cover as much of things I'd like to hear in a song. So anyway, obedience is one longer, so therefore we had chances for to show different elements. It's got
So here's track 5 from Condemned. Here's Obedience.
Inequality. The 80 or 90 richest people in the world have more wealth than the bottom half of the population, 3.5 billion people. It's a system of indoctrination of the young. The educational system is supposed to train people to be obedient, conformist, not think too much, do what you're told, stay passive, don't cause any crises, don't raise any questions. Basically what the system is about. If you took away half the wealth of those 80 to 100 people, guess what? They'd still be the richest people in the world, only you'd now have a vast amount of money to deal with the sickness, the lack of education, the absence of water, the insufficiency of food of the vast majority of people. But I have a feeling that when you go to the elite universities, you find more obedience and conformity. That's part of the same thing that makes the good workers obedient workers.
Everyone
So, Fawaz, I love the integration of the samples through almost all the songs. And I'd say the samples itself are as integral to the songs as the lyrics and riffs themselves in some places. I mean, you ended up using Pastor James Wright on Anomy, right? With the
Oh
whole
yeah.
coming
Hey,
over.
this guy knows.
Yeah, it's an iconic speech now. So my
Yeah.
question to you is this: how much time did you spend collecting all of these samples and ensuring that they fit seamlessly into the songs?
That's actually, yeah, that's a good question. Over the years, I just make mental notes. Like if I've watched something, or if I come across like a powerful speech or whatever, or something that resonates with me or I think is relevant, I just take a note of it and I like write it down somewhere because I know maybe one day I'll need it. That's kind of like how it worked. They were like, I knew of most of them. I might end up using from a while back, but
Mm.
I did not think about the placement or anything until after the album was already recorded. The lyrics have already been written. Then I was like, okay, this might fit here. This might fit there. It helps because I just saw what's relevant. So yeah, it did take a bit of experimenting. I really did try, and Hani also like I was giving me feedback, and
Okay.
actually like at the very beginning, I almost skipped that part. I was gonna release the record without the samples, but Hani encouraged me, which was the initial plan. So I spent the time to actually uh, pick and choose where to put them. So yeah, I did work on them, and I thought, like I said, especially for people who aren't used to like extreme or people who would like to check out the lyrics but can't.
Mm.
This song title does give you an idea, but also these samples when they're like in speech form or they immediately get you to notice or touch upon what topics are being discussed. Like
Mm.
I didn't pick just random samples and just put them there because I thought they
Yep.
sounded
Yep.
cool. Yeah, I put them there because I see them like they're relevant, or like the certain tracks would have like so many dimensions to it, and this guy like completes a part that I was not able to because when you write lyrics you can you have to be what's the word, as concise as you can because
Yes.
you only have limited spaces and you have to get all these thoughts across. It's pretty challenging, so adding those samples helps helps with that, helps highlight the message of that track or whatever.
Yeah, it makes them more real in a way too.
It gives context because everyone will read and perceive certain lyrics in their own way, but that kind of frames it better, so there's like less room for you to go too far in a way. That makes any
Mm.
sense.
Yep, it does. It certainly does. Okay, tell me something. One thing, of course, that anybody who listens to this will note is the strong punk vibe as such throughout the whole album. Lots of D beats, lots of hardcore influences. Of course, all of that is like it's grindcore staples as such. But
Mhm.
how strong is the punk element in your music palette as such? Is punk and metal largely just two sides of the same coin for you?
Yeah, to me, honestly, like I don't play the the genre separation game,
Uh-huh.
but because yes, I do see them like like if you look at thrash or like most of the styles I listen to are always like have a crossover vibe or and for example, I feel like punk or punk hardcore or whatever, like lyrically, like I can relate to them way more And when it comes to like the musicality of metal, I like that too. So to me, that's that's just getting the best of worlds, both worlds. I will say this though, I feel like yeah, obviously message wise, we'd get along better with punk and hardcore community. The metal community don't, like I said, they only care about, majority of them are, they just care about the instrumentals and how, technicality, speed, or whatever. They're not really message driven. And that's why you get most of these bands like, Iron Maiden, whatever, they're always like fantasy or monsters, or that's just not their thing.
Yeah. You touched upon this earlier when you talked about lineup changes. You're
Yeah.
now from a three-piece, four-piece. How did Hussein and Abdul Aziz become part of the lineup? I mean, I'm pretty sure, like you said earlier, it's not that easy to find musicians or like-minded musicians in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, Abdulaziz was actually not. I mean, he was with me in school at the time. I didn't know he was. I knew he liked Metallica. I just didn't know he was into metal. He wasn't really much of a death metal or grind guy, but he got exposed to it, and we turned him to it, and he was quick enough to pick up with it because we were doing this side project named Sijit. Was an old school. At the time, the Vision was an old school death metal band with Hussein too. The band didn't continue. Like, I mean, the band exists now, but it's a completely different path. And I'm not in it anymore. Neither is Aziz. But from there on out, like, Aziz was showed that he's pretty dedicated. He's up to the task, and not to mention he was always a good friend. So it just made sense to just finally have him in the band. That's as far as Aziz goes. Aziz has been with us since 2014, I believe. Yeah, 2014, when we made our second trip to the US. Had a tour there. We played Boston, Philadelphia, and so we got to Maryland. We played MDF, Maryland Death Fest 2014. So yeah, that's when Aziz was officially a member, and Hussein came later on. At the time, we were struggling with guitarists because Islam can't be around because of work and all those commitments, and yeah, we just kept getting like people to session. At the time, it was Chris Leamy, who now plays with Siege. So he's been helping us out whenever, like, Obscene Extreme Mexico, America. He played bass for us there because Assam was with us actually at the time. When we went to Maryland Death Fest 2014, he was on guitar, and Aziz was on bass.
So
Yeah.
you kind of touched upon your journey over the past few years. I mean, not only did you all play Obscene Extreme, you all played Maryland Death Fest, you all played Mexico, and last year, finally in October, you all played your first public metal gig in Saudi Arabia.
Oh
And I
yeah.
still remember seeing you and just being amazed that that finally happened. So if you could just briefly tell us how that whole gig came about.
Oh yeah. That gig was started off as a crazy idea, like one that you're not so sure that you want to entertain. But that's the thing. When, you know, when I heard about it, when I got the offer, I'm like, yeah, why not, man? Let's just do it. I mean, it's never gonna be appropriate. It's never gonna be. You have to like just go for it. And we accepted to do the show. There was a lot of bands that wanted to start. Like they said they're going to play in the beginning, but I don't know what happened. They just bands just kept dropping and dropping. Some of it was concern, genuine concern, like they're that they weren't sure what's going to happen. Some of it was
Yeah.
commitments. People had like issues. So yeah, I mean the show was shaky leading up to the show happening. Not from the organizers' side. The organizers were just straight up. It was just from the bands that were gonna perform, and they just changed so many times. In the end, the ones that performed were Shamal, uh, Doom band, a new Doom band from Eastern Province. Yeah, I would expect them to release something after hopefully after this Corona thing is done. And Madani Zakari, he's always been around in the scene. He used to be in Breeze of the Dying, who got some who were featured in that MTV Live thing. They've been around for a while, but that band stopped. So, and Madani's still carrying on. He's known to be one of the best guitarists here. And he did a solo show, and then it was us that closed the show. And it was unreal. First time my mom attends. You had family attending. You had friends attending, who won't normally. And the funny thing is, majority of the attendees have probably never heard like death metal in their life, So and for them to be like, the energy was like, they were all having fun. And that's the thing. Live shows have a different vibe because you start to understand better why the style is played the way it is live, because it's in context. There's context to be delivered. When you're listening to it on a record, there's a lot of things missing. There's a lot of things missing. That's why you have like a lot, it's no matter what you do, there's always something missing on a record. This, I don't know. I just can't articulate it right now, but yeah.
One of the things that, of course, made worldwide news last year in December was there was a 3-day music festival called MDL Beast near Riyadh, and you had top from all over the world flying in. It was supposed to be one of the largest concerts ever. But more relevant to you, do you foresee, a metal or even a rock show of that or even smaller size happening in the near future in Saudi Arabia?
There have been talks. I mean, after that show in Khubar, the one the first official public metal show. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, say successful in many fronts. Okay. It got sold out in 3 to 4 days. Like, as in they had limited seats, and just 3-4 days. No one was expecting that. They were actually late in promoting the show. They were late in it, and we thought, oh man, they're late. It just took 3-4 days, and there were more people wanting in. We squeezed a few people in actually, and that's the thing. The majority of the consensus here. Oh, like, a lot of organizers don't even bother with that. Oh, there's no draw. That's the thing. There is huge draw for this. So it kind of opened some people's eyes that they wanted to try to actually put something together. Based on the reception, I would say they are thinking. I've heard a few people who talked to me who said they're going to organize something, and nothing is yet to materialize, but there have been talks. And we're trying also on other fronts. I have a few friends of mine who are actually talking to the Ministry of Culture and trying to get them to start opening venues, because we're pretty much at the infancy stage for local events. We don't have local venues like shows here. Yes, now you can get permits and you can make. There's only like 2 types of shows you can make. small coffee shop shows or huge middle beast level shows. There are
Okay.
no venue shows
Middle.
like as in yeah, like in the middle, like yeah. Also, like as far as I know, not many people can charge for tickets. That's very hard to do. So it's in turn, it's very hard for to keep those shows going and bands getting paid because unless you're playing a big show like a festival event, like something we did in which was like Gamers Con as a side project. We played with this band we formed for basically playing instrumentals and instrumental covers. It was basically
Okay.
a job, and yeah, I mean, you make money, but those events don't happen too often. But those were like large scale events. And then you have the small coffee shop events. You can't really, you still can't charge tickets for that. Like the permits are not issued for that yet. So they'd have to pay you like from, I don't know, their proceedings from the drinks or whatever, like the coffee or whatever. You know, they don't sell drinks because we're Saudi. There's only coffee here. Just to clarify, I'm saying Fawaz and yeah.
We've talked a lot about, kind of your journey so far and condemned. But what's next for Creative Waste? What's next on the plan?
Shows, a lot of shows. That's what we hope to do. Like play as many shows as we can. We were supposedly scheduled to UK Death Fest in late August, Nepal Death Fest late mid-November, but I don't know if those are gonna happen based on what's going on right now. I have no clue. But yeah, the idea is to play as many live shows as we can. I feel energized to start writing new material. This stuff might be new to a lot of people, but to us it's pretty outdated. So I feel like we got our process under control, like got it down. Now I know how to. I learned a lot doing this, and yeah, let's see.
So I hope all your plans work out in the near future, and thanks a lot for your time, for us. Thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you.
Well, so much of what he says, it kind of reminds me of how the Bombay scene as such came together. Passionate people who just found like-minded people and worked their asses off to make things happen.
Yeah. The thing is, for a lot of people, they'll be like, "Oh yeah," and like what he said, the whole thing that there's a whole stereotype of Saudi guys, but like you have to understand their whole perspective. So yeah, considering where they come from, and then like making, like, I still remember, dude, first time hearing them and being like, "What the hell? Like, how are these guys even recording? Like, let alone like playing music and stuff?" And like I went back when we did the interview to listen to their first EP, and I'm like, it sounds like absolute shit. And like he says, like they were all kids, they were all figuring it out. But just the fact that there's something coming out there, they were angry, they were pissed off.
Yeah, it goes to show that at the end of the day, if you really wanted to achieve something, you just have to get out and do it, and you learn along the way. And that really is also a part of everything that metal is about. So on that note, that's all that we have from this episode number 70 of Horns Up. Next episode, I think we're going to remain in these geographical territories as such. No, it's not another band from Saudi Arabia, but it's a band from Egypt this time. Right? We're getting Scarab on Horns Up. Now it's official. You actually have something to look forward to. Till the next time, you can always reach out to us on hornsubbot.com. I'm Araz Mohani on Twitter.
And I'm Trent Crusher.
Bye-bye. Horns Up.
Horns Up.